We get between 250 and 300 applications in a given year. The readers are mostly Mitchell scholars from previous classes. Not all of them, but most of them. So you want to make it really easy for them to understand why they should select you, why what you're interested in is important. That's answering the so what question. So it's why me, why this, and then why now? How will it have an impact, this opportunity have an impact on the way your professional development unfolds in 8 years, 20 years? You don't know that, but what we're looking for is an articulation of your achievements and an articulation of your aspirations, which we understand will evolve. You're not trapping yourself here. And the continuum between the two. A lot of you, I'm sure right now, can very easily do achievement and aspiration. It's defining that continuum that becomes difficult. If you can define the continuum, though, you know what your next best steps are. And there might be several of those. There might be a few of those. And your application is just a snapshot of where you are on that continuum. So the readers are looking for that information in the context of why Ireland. And you want to make it really easy for them to understand that, and you want to make it really easy for them to remember you. I often tell the story of a Rhodes application that several years ago, when I was on a committee to read those, the guy starts off with Valentine's Day will never be the same. And you just cringe. You think, I really don't want to read this. But what it turned out was that he had found a blemish on his cheek that morning. Turned out it was cancer. This was a guy who was interested in healthcare and was on his way to medical school. And it gave him an opportunity to reevaluate the healthcare system and see it from a very different perspective. But we all walked into the committee to talk about who we were going to endorse into that committee meeting. Every single one of us remembered that whole application. Tiny details, because it was a great hook. So it doesn't have to be something tragic or awful. It can be as simple as somebody who writes and says, when I was a little kid and our teacher gave us our papers back, I always looked to see what other people had got to make sure I had done the best, because I'm competitive. And then he talked about harnessing that competitive drive and how it had been a way for him to overcome obstacles or to achieve. But we need a way, we need a mnemonic. We need a way to remember you. And so what the readers are looking for is the answer to those three questions, why me, why this, why now, in the context of Ireland, and give them a way to remember you. So that when they rank their top 30 choices, you're one of those top 10 in their head. Those readers' evaluations and rankings come into our office, and we tabulate them, and we identify about 30 people that are invited for a semifinal interview via Skype. And that's a very brief interview. It's on a 15-minute interval, which means it's effectively a 12 or a 13-minute interview. We send out information that tells you about interviewing on Skype. It's also available here. Take advantage of that. Practice. Use Skype. Make sure that you're in a place that's not got a lot of noise, a lot of distraction, all that sort of thing. We go from that, where there are about 30 to about 20 people will be invited to Washington, D.C. That's finalist weekend. I apologize. It is right now scheduled to be on the same weekend as the Rhodes interviews, the 18th and 19th of November. And I do very much apologize for that. There is a reception on Friday evening. We are not evaluating how you behave if you chew with your mouth, if you talk with your mouth full, things like that, although that would be kind of not great. But we're really trying to get to know who you are, get a sense of who you are. All of the people on the selection committee, and there will be about 8 members, will be there that evening. They will not be identified as members of the selection committee. You, as a finalist, are identified. There will be between 120, 140 people there at the event. 20 of you will be finalists. Last year, there were 40 scholars from previous classes in that room, too. So there are people that you can learn from. Then, generally, the finalists and the scholars go out to dinner together, and we fly you there. We provide your transportation there, and we put you up at a hotel. If you are coming internationally, and we often have a Fulbright or a Luce scholar who's coming from the Far East, we'll put you up Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And it's a nice hotel, and we try and make it a level playing field for everybody. So we get you there, we provide accommodations while you're there. Saturday, there is a 15-minute intervals, so these interviews, 12 or 13 minutes. We ask you to get there a half hour before your interview. You get your portrait taken, and there are a couple scholars who are sitting there just to chat with you. So you don't have to spend a day in a room together. You arrive a little before your interview. You have some people to talk to. I welcome you, bring you in. There are 8 people who genuinely want you to enjoy yourself. It is not a hostile interview at all. And we take great pride in making sure that the experience is a positive experience. And there are people who aren't selected, but we put them in touch with the Irish University, and every year there are a couple of people that go to Irish universities who aren't Mitchell Scholars, but we've been able to make those introductions, and they often receive funding from the institution. So we are committed to this being a positive process for everybody. And I will just, in terms of our relationship with other programs, we love to see Fulbright and Luce scholars in our population. We think that's terrific. And we welcome applications until you're age 30. So there's time for you to think about this. We also encourage you to apply for other things after. So we've had people who've gone on and been Fulbrighters, and the 2 years that I've been there, we've had Rhodes scholars selected out of the class. So we really do want you to maximize your opportunities, and anything we can do to support that we think is important.